how can you help Jacob?
I think you can prevent behavioral problems before they happen by talking about things before they happen. So on a Monday, a circle could be, okay, what if I had this block and Susie wants this block and she comes over and takes it, and talking through and reading books before it happens. Because once you're in that moment, once they're up here and they're fighting over the block, nobody is going to listen. All they want is the block. They're not. So then what we could do is if we do have a situation like that, then at our meeting, then we go back. Today we had a situation. Here's what happened. How can we do better the next time? You know, what could this person, and a lot of that role playing, which, and I've done that I'm the kid and the children are like the teacher, and you know, and what should Miss Kim do the next time? And I think that helps by going over it, reading those books, and role playing before it happens when they're in that moment. Then you can say, take those deep breaths. Let's think about that story. Or what did Twiggle do? And then they're able to verbalize and it relates to them then.
I think it helps kids to have the information up front. Just as an adult, you might want to know up front from your employer if they have a new expectation of you. You would want somebody to sit you down and explain what that expectation was and give you an opportunity to ask questions about that expectation and then expect you to follow it. I think that's the best way to introduce new expectations to children too. We sit down at a group time, I tell them what the problem is, like maybe there's a problem with people like taking Matchbox cars in their pocket. Like this is something that's happened today. So we sit down as a community and talk about this problem and how we are going to solve this problem, because it's a problem for all of us. We love our Matchbox cars and we want to play with them more. So what could be some ways to solve that? We come up with the solution as a group. I guide them because, you know, I need the expectation or the solution to be attainable and appropriate, but we decide it together, and then, you know, we write it down on a whiteboard or something that's a little visual too, and we talk about it, and that it helps it become solidified in their minds and in the culture of the classroom.
Lizzie, stop, look at your friend, she's telling you something. Go ahead, tell her. I think it's important to know the temperament of the children that you're working with, so that you know if your temperament doesn't actually match, you can figure out a strategy or find support from the other teacher if you're having difficulty with a child's temperament. But also planning and being proactive in different ways so that you can eliminate some negative behavior for the children and just be able to support their emotional development.
I think stepping back and being patient, because there's certainly some temperaments that can conflict with the teacher and their personality, their temperament. But I think that's also something to make sure you're checking in with one another on, the three teachers in the room, to be checking back and forth, because we know who might get under someone's skin that might not get on another person's skin or on the last nerve. So making sure you're aware of that, taking turns. If we're in those challenging moments, we will take turns. You know, this teacher may have been handling this situation for 5 to 15 minutes now, and you can tell that it's time to move on, so then we switch places. And that's something that's very effective, and it also allows you a break. You need a mental break every now and then too.
We have a child with a challenging behavior. First thing we try to do is we try to isolate what that behavior is. So we might, for a week or two, just anecdotally, kind of gathering information. When does it happen? With whom does it happen? What is the actual behavior? And when we see a pattern, then we can create a little bit more of a specific form that we can start kind of ticking off how often a behavior occurs. And we often have that broken up by time of day. Often it's a transition time, and so we can put some supports in place for that child before and during the transition that often reduces and sometimes eliminates that challenging behavior.